Yo, what's up? You've reached Neon Topic, Neon Gaming Dimension. I have an awesome guest for you today. Madeline Stanley, aka Mad Exposure, on the internet, is right next to me, and I'm talking to her, and this is incredible. How's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm great. Unfortunately, the rest of the guys couldn't be here tonight, but hey, it's OM Jesus. It's Mad Exposure. It's the conversation of the season. That's all good. We're gonna have a good
They were
time.
intimidated by my spooky presence.
That's true. Hey, I was saying this earlier. You have a very like vampiric kind of glow about you right now, so this is perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah, my room is more like the pits of hell. My dog won't even go in here. I don't know why.
Oh shit.
Dude, it's seriously, like my lady keeps saying it's haunted in here, and certainly looks that way right now.
You gotta get some sage in there.
I have sage. I literally have sage.
Amazing.
It's in like one of those like conch shells. It's supposed to like boost the powers or something. I don't know, dude. I don't buy this stuff. I just use it. All right. It's it's like Van Helsing. Is it Viggo Mortensen or is it it's Wolverine, isn't it? It's not Vigo.
Oh, Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman. Yeah, that movie. It's she's basically like the Vatican, like James Bond laboratory in here. With all the spiritual weapons. We got the
Look,
cross.
it can't hurt.
You know,
It can't hurt.
we got the holy water. Sometimes when we watch horror movies and she's scared, she'll be like throwing the holy water all around the bed. It's crazy.
Look,
hey,
I always say like
I'm
with
cool with
Ouija
it.
boards and everything, just don't mess with it. Cause if it's fake, it doesn't matter. If it's real, then like you're fucked. So
Dude. 100%. And then always remember to say goodbye. Okay, gotta put it on.
Exactly.
Goodbye. She didn't. Linda Blair did not do that shit in The Exorcist, and you see what happens. All right, you see what happens. So that's a little horror movie thing. You know what I'm saying? That's not really horror video games. Although some horror video games these days are kind of like movies, right?
That's so true. Some of my favorite horror games are like movies.
Yeah, and that's honestly like I haven't done any of that stuff, so I can't wait to like hear about why they're awesome from you. Really get into it. But look, you're Madeline Stanley. You're the kind of funny up and comer. I figured let's have a little bit of an interview, kind of little piece about that because I want to celebrate that for you, at least on our
Yeah,
channel.
totally.
Give you the signal boost, because it's awesome. We were totally like super happy when we heard that like a few weeks ago. So why don't you just introduce yourself real quick to Neon Gaming Dimension?
Yeah, hello. As you said, my name's Madeline, aka Madeline Stanley, aka Mad Exposure, depending on where you see me out there in the world. Um, I am a big horror fan and I love horror movies, horror gaming. Obviously, a big kind of funny fan as well. I got into video gaming like I feel like I did gaming when I was younger, but I didn't kind of like really get into like the deep dive until I was older. And I started getting into a lot of horror games. I feel like I was a lot often too scared to play them as a child, but then as an adult, I'm like I'm so interested in this.
Dude, totally.
Yeah, so I've always been into horror, been into gaming lately. That's kind of how I got into kind of funny is like I need to talk about video games with other people who like video games. And so then I found an awesome community. And then, yeah, I think I've been part of the kind of funny community since around 2017, 2018. So not as long as others, but longer than some. And yeah, I had the really crazy opportunity in August. Tim and Joey like contacted me and they were like, do you want to come to San Francisco? And I was like, yes, of course I do.
Yeah, that's so cool.
It was really crazy, especially just because, like I said, I got into gaming like later. I feel like I'm not as like a lifelong gamer as some other people who've been gaming their whole lives. So
Yeah.
it felt a little bit cool to be able to do something so entrenched in the like video game space as someone who has gotten in late and felt like maybe it was too late to have these kinds of opportunities, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That felt really special.
Yeah, that's super awesome because, like gamers aren't very nice, especially not to like women,
Yeah.
in any form. So it's just super cool to see that, like, similarly, like I found kind of funny for the same reasons. And I've just met so many cool people, like, the people I do this podcast with, I met through kind of funny, except for Miguel. That's my buddy. We're going to,
Go
we're
way
going out
back.
of town, this weekend to Beatty, this little
Ooh.
town north of Las Vegas, and they have like a interesting like little festival around this time. So we're all gonna rent a car and like drive down there. Should be
That's
crazy.
so fun. I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do think that's something special too about the kind of funny community. And I
yeah,
believe the NPD squad, where I think there are a lot of communities that are really aggressive or rude towards many people, but specifically women. And I've never really felt that way here or with Kind of Funny or with the other people that I've met through that. Like
yeah,
everyone's been so kind and understanding. And even if we don't necessarily like find a common video game ground, like no one's ever really disrespectful or whatever. They're just like,
yeah.
I don't really vibe with Until Dawn, but I'm glad you like it. And I'm like, cool. I don't really vibe with Elden Ring, but I'm glad you like it.
That fucking game is so fucking good. I like I beat games sometimes, and then I don't go back typically. Elden Ring, like my highest hours probably of any game in the last 10 years, which is crazy.
Really?
Yeah, ever since maybe World of Warcraft. But I quit during Cataclysm. No more MMOs. No more.
No more.
Horror games, yes. I'm definitely getting into those. Oh, quick question though.
Yeah,
About Kind of Funny. I'll just ask this one question. Greg,
sure.
really nice guy, right? Off the camera.
Yes.
Obviously.
Greg is
Obviously.
a wonderful person. They all are. Honestly, like it's funny because people have like asked like, "Oh, are they the same as they on camera as off?" I think that's like a question a lot of people feel
Hmm.
about people you only kind of know through podcasts or online things.
Yeah.
And I definitely feel like they're very obviously there's like maybe like a little bit of performance because you don't just nobody acts exactly the same when they're being observed when they're not being observed.
Yeah.
But very, very, very similar, maybe amped up a little bit. But everyone's super nice and friendly, and it's really easy to get along with. It felt very like I felt very validated because I saw a lot of comments of people being like, "It feels like you vibe with them so well, like you just fit right in." And I felt that, so I'm glad that people who were watching also kind of felt that because I felt very at ease
Yeah.
and like I fit in with them. So they definitely made me feel that way.
100%. That's how I perceived it too. So that's awesome. That's great. That's really all I want to know. I mean, I could ask all sorts of crazy questions about that, but like, hey, I just want like I want to hear like is Jonathan Frakes, is he nice? You know what I mean? If that's all I want to know is the people that I admire are like actually cool. I mean, I
Yeah,
figured,
exactly.
but like
Well,
Greg is
you
like a
hope,
heel,
right?
you know.
Yeah. He pretends to be rude, but he's very nice. And I think honestly kind of in the way that like sweet and salty are, like a Sour Patch Kids, right? First they're sour, then they're sweet. I feel like it's the contrast that really amplifies like how nice he is, which is like he has this like jerk, his heel persona, and then
Yeah.
that amplifies how nice he actually is because you're like, oh, you say these like rude things, but you actually are so sweet and then say nice things. So
See, that's my favorite type of people. So there you go. Perfect.
exactly.
Awesome.
I feel like there's those people too where you're like, you don't actually like me unless you're like a little rude to me, right? Like you're like, if you're too nice to me, that means like we're not really friends. And then like
Yeah,
once you're like a little rude, then that means like we're pals now.
that's true. That is 100%, especially with dudes. Like I'll be honest about that. You know what I mean? We're like, fuck you, bro.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, great to hear that. Kind of funny, great. Like a same. Oh, I feel like I probably became a Kind of Funny fan about the same time as you too, because it was like a couple years right before 2020 when everything came crashing down. When that was a wild
Right.
time. But hey, that's fun. See, even me, the
Hmm.
guy who's like a psycho in the chat all the time,
Same.
shouldn't feel bad. Shouldn't feel bad.
No,
Awesome. So let's talk about horror games, yo. That's why we're here, right? So
that is.
I did write this question, and we recently had Joe Mertens from
Love him.
Murders with Mertens. I was on his podcast. We did Evil Dead 2. That was a lot of fun. Definitely watch
Ooh.
that. And then we had him on to just nerd out about horror films. You know what I mean? So I thought about it, and I'm like, when I talk to people about horror or the movies they like, or like what actually scares them, everyone kind of has a different answer, and that has to carry over to horror games too, right? Like
Totally.
Five Nights at Freddy's. I don't want to fucking do that. All right, Phasmophobia. Please, everybody play that game with me, please. It's so good. So that being said, that's why I wrote this question. What does horror mean to you? But then I also added the addendum. What do you look for in a horror video game?
Ooh, those are good questions. I also have to shout out, I've also been on Murders with Mertens podcast, I believe 3 times. We've talked about Halloween 3, In the Mouth of Madness, and Oculus. So some good episodes. If any of those speak to you, go give them a listen.
Yeah, I love
Um,
all those movies. They're
yeah.
all good.
So what does horror mean to you? And then what do I look for in a horror game? I
Hmm.
feel like horror to me means just kind of using, I don't know how to explain what I have like a thought and I'm like, how do I say this? I feel like horror is such a good way to like explore your emotions in a really safe way.
Hmm.
I talk about this like, I think this is true of all horror things, but we're in the Halloween season. A lot of people are going to haunted houses.
Hmm.
And a horror video game is kind of like a horror haunted house a lot of times. Um, and it's like a safe way to experience something and see how you feel without actually having to do it. And I think there is obviously thrill to being scared, but also the safety of knowing that you actually will be okay. Like there's a lot of things you
Right.
would do, not even just in horror games, but in general, in all video games that you're like, I would never do this, but I get to experience doing it in this very safe space and the thrill of shark diving or going to a haunted house
Yeah.
or some of the
Anything in
going
GTA.
anything in GTA, going to a town covered in fog looking for your missing wife. Like all these things you don't really want to experience in real life, but you get to experience in a game or a movie. So I feel like horror is such an interesting way to kind of explore those darker parts of yourself and um, express them in a way that feels like really gratifying and also like safe. I feel like that's like very like, I don't know if that made sense.
It was a journey.
Yeah, a journey.
Yeah. Hmm.
And what I look for in horror games, I think it really depends because I know we have so many different types of games and I really like a lot of different ones. So I do think tension is the most important thing. So I
Hmm.
feel the same way about movies. If you're not kind of have that tightness in your chest or
Hmm.
you're not like looking around the corners or like hearing noises,
Oh
those are the
God.
things that really get me is like that tension. But there's a lot of different types of games we mentioned earlier. Like, I really like cinematic or like story based horror games.
Hmm.
All the super massive games are a great example of that. I
Hmm.
love the Dark Pictures anthology and Until Dawn and The Quarry. And so for those, I'm looking for just like a really fun story that I get to have some sort of interaction with, like something
Hmm.
that feels like, because that's I think one of the big things that got me into horror gaming
Hmm.
was like I am a big movie person, I think first prior to video games. And I think we've all had that experience, right, where you're watching a horror movie and you're like, don't do that, do this. And I think it's like it kind of is crazy to me that there's not more games like those
Yeah.
because I feel like that's such a natural instinct
Yeah.
And it's so cool to actually be able to do that, to be like, no, don't hide under the bed, run around the corner, and like you get to be in that situation and do it and see if it works out for you.
It never
And so
works
I
out.
think that's something. Other than that, I do really like horror games where you don't have a lot of agency, where you're like hiding, you're looking around, you're solving puzzles. I think that's really fun to be put in kind of like a helpless situation and see if you can use your wits and like your strategy to get you out of things. And I also think atmosphere is super important. I want to be someplace really spooky and someplace maybe I wouldn't go in real life. Like Resident
No.
Evil 7, I have not personally played that. It's too scary for me.
Whew,
I've
that
watched
game.
so many people play RE7, but
Oh,
I'm like, I would never go there. I would never do any of these things.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, Resident Evil 1, which it's so funny. At the beginning of this month, I was like, I bought it. It's $5 on Steam. I'm going to beat Resident Evil 1. I played it like 3 sessions, restarted multiple times, and now I have to start over again. So, but hey, crazy situation to be in. There's zombies everywhere. You can't kill them all because after a while, when you kill them, they become faster and stronger. And you're really fucking yourself over if you're killing too many because then you got to set them on fire or something. This game's crazy, dude. But like being
Yeah.
there with the dogs jumping at you, I probably would die immediately. I don't even have a gun.
Yeah. Immediately.
Yeah.
Well, actually, so my very first horror game experience was Resident Evil Code Veronica.
Nice.
I got it, I was gifted it. And I put it in, I tried to play. I literally, I'm not joking, and I did not get out of like the very first area that you're in. Like as a child, I died immediately every single time in the little graveyard area that when you first get out. I don't know what happens past there. It's actually become a joke now amongst me and my friends. Like I've never left this area of this graveyard, and I think I need to like I keep waiting for them to remaster it or redo it like they've been doing the other Resident Evil games and like
Yes.
have my Resident Evil Code Veronica Redemption, because I swear it was like every Saturday I would put it in, I would get to this part, and then I would be like, okay, I'm gonna get out of here without dying. And then I would get stressed and freak out and I would die, and then I would be like, okay, next week. Time to put Sonic back in.
Yeah. I mean, the Dreamcast, you know? Gosh, lighters up for the Dreamcast.
It
It
was a
always makes
moment.
me
I
sad.
have mine like back here on
Nice.
my. I still have it. Yeah.
Do you have like one of those memory cards? Those memory cards were
Huh?
sick, dude.
Hmm.
I remember there was like a Chow mini game for Sonic Adventure 2 or something like that, right?
Yeah. I have that too. Yeah, the Dreamcast. That's
Wild.
like putting dating myself or putting in my mind space. Like I had a Dreamcast. That was like my first big console,
Hmm.
and I had like 6 games, and I didn't ever buy any new ones because I never had any money. And my mom was also not like the biggest gamer person. Like no one in
Hmm.
my life
Yeah.
was gaming, so I feel like no one was like encouraging me really to like branch out. So it's like I
Yeah.
had like Code Veronica, I had Sonic, and some
Crazy
game called
Taxi?
I did a Crazy Taxi.
Nice,
I had some
nice.
game called Wet Tricks where you built lakes.
Oh,
I
we're
don't
looking this
know.
up now. Wet
You're like
Tricks.
Wet Tricks. You're just building lakes. Um, Echo the Dolphin, which was also kind of
Oh
scary
yeah.
when the sharks attacked you. But I feel like I didn't really like Resident Evil Code Veronica was my first thing, and I didn't really super get into like
Hmm.
horror games until I played Alan Wake, and like I fell in love with Alan Wake when I played that.
Yeah. I liked it a lot. Like I think I had a three. Was it three? It was on 360, right?
Yeah.
Um, I had a 360 and I rented it like 2 times. I could never beat it. But then a friend of mine was like, you need to like beat this game." So I bought it. I have it installed on Steam and it's been sitting there for like 6 months. You know, I have a crazy backlog. I have so many
I
games
know,
to
me
play.
too.
Everybody's trying to play Black Ops 6 right now. How am I gonna
I
get, you
know.
know, how am I gonna
Are
get
they
to
getting
like
in?
Paragon
I haven't seen
levels
yet.
in Diablo 4? I don't know. I think it starts at 9 my time, so in
Oh, okay.
less than 2 hours from now. Uh, in case you're wondering when we recorded this, I can't find Wet Tricks anywhere.
What?
So
Okay, wait. I made it up. What
maybe.
tricks?
I don't know. I
I
had
don't
this
know. Okay.
game that was kind of like Asteroids, like where the way that the ship moves, it's kind of a shoot 'em up.
Hmm.
It was really interesting.
I'm sending you a DM right now of
Okay.
Wet Tricks because it's Wetrix.
Okay, let me check my
So I guess you
DMs.
could just. Okay, wait. I'm so bad at
Gaming
Discord.
news?
Okay,
No.
here we are.
I, in the chat of the thing.
Oh, I just DM'd it to you.
Oh, you DM. Okay, there we go. Oh my god. That's like one hell of a link. The Google links are crazy. Oh,
They are. They're nuts.
Wetrix.
Wet Tricks. Yeah.
Wetrix. This was on the Sega
This was on
Dreamcast
Dreamcast.
and
Yeah.
64. Wow,
I guess you
that's
just make
interesting.
lakes.
You just make lakes. Wow, this guy's gonna review it. Let's see. Oh, that's weird. That's freaking weird, dude.
It's a really strange game. This is. I feel like it's one of those things now. Like, live in such a wealth of games at this point, and
Yeah,
it's like it's so funny how many games there are now. You could never play them all, and it's like, oh yeah, when you're a kid too, you only have a couple of games, and you just really play those same ones over and over and over again.
yeah.
This Space Channel 5, I played Space Channel 5 like 100 times.
Nice. That's amazing. I always wanted to play it because it seems so like prismatic, but I didn't know exactly what it was. Is it a Was it a rhythm game?
Yeah, it's like
Ah.
it's like Parappa a little bit.
Okay. Nice. Dude, I not to veer too off course, but I did play this
Yeah.
game during Steam Next Fest called Beat Block, which is an incredible rhythm game everyone needs to try.
Ooh, okay, I'll have to check that out.
Definitely
I
check it
love a
out.
rhythm game.
I see you wrote down BioShock as another one of your like first or favorites.
Yeah, I feel like BioShock gets left out of the horror game conversation because it's like
Mhm.
not a traditional horror game, right? Like it's an action adventure game, I guess, is what people would say, but
Yeah,
I definitely put it in the horror category. Like BioShock is scary, man.
it is.
When you see the Big Daddies for the first time, when you see all of the people running after you and like trying to kill you and they're all fucked up,
Yeah.
like I really enjoyed this game and I think it has such a good little horror bent to it.
Mhm.
It's definitely one that when I got to like even the very first boss when he's doing all the creepy like surgery on people and you're just like, "Whoa, what is happening here?"
That
So
place
I
is
just wanted to
fucked up.
shout, it is. So it's like I just feel like that's one that gets overlooked and it's such a good. I think there's a lot of good, I feel like horror light experiences that I like to recommend to people like if you're not like full in on horror. I say like Alan Wake's a good one to start with. It's like
Yeah.
pretty scary, but it's not so scary. Like BioShock, I feel like is a good one to start with because it's got the horror stuff, but it's not quite as much the jump scares. And then I
Yeah.
always recommend the OG, my favorite game of all time, Until Dawn, which I think is such a perfect horror game for non-horror people and non-gamers. It's like a perfect entryway into horror gaming.
Yeah, because it's more of like an interactive movie, right?
Mhm. Have you
Yeah.
ever played Until Dawn?
No, I still haven't.
Oh, you need to play it.
I do need to play it, and I want to con my lady into playing it with me
Oh, it's
because
such a good
it's like
game
a
to
just a
play.
movie.
Yeah, with a partner, with your friends, like
Hmm.
literally I bought this game as soon as it came out because I was really like I was following it very closely and I have made like pretty much every person in my life play it whether or not they're gamers or not. I pack up my system, I bring it to their house and I said we're playing this and they after like the first couple hours they're like addicted and they're like okay, we have to finish it soon. Like you can't finish it in a day. I guess you could, but it's like a 8 to 10 hour game, but um
The way these
most people
gamers
are like
are.
so invested because the story is so good and like I said you have that agency, it's so fun, it's like goofy but also there's like a really interesting sort of set of storylines going on. You do feel like you're making a difference in this game and like embodying these characters. I just feel like they created such a magical experience when they made Until Dawn.
Nice. Not the remake though. I hear that sucks.
Okay, so we streamed the remake on Kind of Funny,
Uh-huh.
and I feel very conflicted about it. I do think graphically it's an improvement most of the time. There are
Hmm.
some weird things. I just wish they had done the upgrade route, because if it was a $10 or $20 upgrade, that I would recommend it, because I think there's enough little things that they've added and tweaked that could be helpful. There's
Hmm.
additional couple scenes that you can get, but like for an additional full game, I don't think there's enough there to like justify it. They made the totem collecting worse. It's so complicated to collect collectibles now. You have to do this like, used to pick them up and you would press the right trigger and your hand would like turn and you would look at the thing. And now
Hmm.
you have to press both of the thumbsticks and like find this zone, and you're going up and down and left and right and like trying to find this little area on it, and it takes so long. I swear it added like 20 minutes onto our gameplay of just picking up these totems and looking at them. And then they did one of the things that I don't love that they did, is that they changed some of like the camera angles too. I felt like it was a lot more cinematic and purposeful with some of the way that the angles were,
Hmm.
and they kind of adjusted them. So I don't know. If you are really big, if you're a pixels person and you're like, I want the best, highest resolution, then
Hmm.
maybe yeah, get the remake. But not if you play on PC. Apparently, though, the PC one is also, I think, broken. But if
Oh
you're playing
no.
on PlayStation,
I I
maybe it's worth it. I think you should just play the PS4 version. Probably
okay.
that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, I think if I go back on PS Plus, which I will soon,
Yeah, you should have it.
then I should have it and I could just play the PS4 version, that's the plan. Cuz hey, I'm sure it'll still look fine, whatever.
Yeah,
It'll still be in 4K on my TV, like whatever.
it's still a really beautiful game, and I
Yeah.
think they did such a good job with the motion capture and everything. Like,
Mhm.
I do think there's like I said, there's like some graphical improvements, but if that's the really big difference in my opinion between the two. So
Mhm.
um it's such a fun one, and like one of the things I love, which now there are so many games and we all have really long backlogs, but like at the time it was so cool that everyone had their own story and you could play
Mhm.
it multiple times, because you're like, oh well, what if I do this time, and then I'll get to see this whole
Mhm.
different storyline because I made these different choices. And I think that's a really fun aspect to build into a game. And
Mhm.
like we talked about, like being there, like, no, don't hide, you need to run, like someone's chasing you. Being able to like actually interact with a movie like that is so cool. It's kind of
Yeah.
like you're playing a game and being and directing a horror movie at the same time.
That sounds hella sick. It like I said, it's been on my radar. So I will eventually play it. For sure. But that's kind of like the FMV games back in the day, like in the
Yeah.
90s and stuff. So same kind of idea, which I always liked those. Or when they brought it back for Netflix for Bandersnatch, which
Hmm.
we played every single possible ending or whatever. I want to see all that information if I can, because it's really interesting to see how like storylines change, just like a old school choose your own adventure book.
Yes, I love those.
Could die in so many ways. You could win in a couple ways. Things might change.
Hmm.
It's pretty crazy.
Well, I also feel like me, I like personally, I have a lot of like choice paralysis, like just in my
Mm.
life, where I'm like, I
Hmm.
don't know what I want to do. Like, I want to try everything, I want to have
Yeah.
every experience. And I feel like games, like choice based games, are so like healing for that version of yourself, being like,
Mm.
it's okay, you can try every different thing and see how it goes. And it's such a fun experience to be able to do everything in a game, right?
That's true. They also have that in Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in the story mode, you can do things differently than in the show, and then they do like these extra like what if scenarios, which is really interesting. You don't get that from Dragon Ball, but I digress. That's not
Well,
horror game.
I can't believe you brought up Dragon Ball to me after I
I had
just
to.
told you.
I had to
After I
because you told
just
me.
told you.
Because you're like, I don't know what Dragon Ball is. I don't want to know what it is ever. Thank you. Um,
Could not escape Dragon Ball Z when I was on Kind of Funny. Everyone, they were
yeah.
bringing up every single episode. I was like, can you guys calm down? Why can't we be talking about Alan Wake 2? That's why I was begging Sam Lake to drop that Lake House DLC early so we could talk about something that I know about. But I don't know anything about Dragon Ball. I'm
Mhm.
so sorry.
It was just consequential that you were there during that release week, But hey, what can you do? So yeah, like to answer the question myself, what does horror mean to me? It is the dregs of society. It's the weirdness. It's the awkwardness. It's the horrible. It's the grotesque and bloody and disgusting. It's the horrifying. It's fucking ghosts. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
give me a goddamn ghost and do it right. Make it scary. That's horror to me. It's just all the stuff that you don't normally get to deal with or enjoy, I guess, in an enjoyable way. Although, some horror things are just a little too depressing, which I know
Totally.
it's like negative, like you're supposed to have negative feelings about death or whatever, or like or it's I don't know, or like The Descent, great movie. It's about like a woman whose like family died or something, and it's always something like that. Someone's dead, everyone's sad. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of negative there, but I do like that horror is versatile and you could have fun with it too. I just watched this movie called In a Violent Nature. It's really
Oh
interesting.
yeah, what'd you think of it?
I loved it, and I don't typically like the art house stuff because sometimes it's just a little like long or ridiculous or just doesn't work or it's not as scary as it is like you make me what do you think happened, like that just kind of drives me a little bit crazy, but that was really interesting and it was kind of calming. It was
Yeah,
it's so
it's
crazy.
been a very divisive movie. Like, I probably watched it maybe a couple weeks ago because I wasn't able to see it in theaters.
Same.
Because I'm a big movie theater person, so I
Mhm.
try to see like a lot of movies in the theaters, but
Yeah,
don't always make it everywhere.
right.
But I really enjoyed it as well. I had heard everything from like it was a revolutionary, beautiful, like best horror movie of the last 10 years to like
Mhm.
it was boring, nothing happened, and it was a waste of time. And so I was so curious like where I was gonna end up on this scale. And I agree with you, like I really enjoyed it. I
Yeah.
think like the slowness of certain parts were really effective
Hmm.
in building tension and kind of like allowing you to look at a horror situation from a different perspective, which is the whole point of the movie, right? Which is like we see all these movies like the Friday the 13th, the Texas Chainsaws, all these like traditional Halloween, and you're like, what is that guy doing in between these set pieces? Like, where is he? And maybe that's not a question you like, not everyone has ever asked themselves, but I've certainly thought about it. And I think it was cool to see the sort of methodical nature of what that experience is like on the other side. And
And it was
I really
brutal.
enjoyed it.
It was
Hmm.
brutal as fuck. It was gory and insane at times, um, and weird. And it just hit on all those notes. It was everything I was looking for. But just those like long shots of him just walking, and you're just like listening to nature. There's no music in the whole movie, basically. That's not much of a spoiler. But it's you're just listening to like oh man, it's peaceful. You're just like in the woods, and then
Hmm.
you get to see some crazy shit happen, and then it's calm again. I don't know, but that's my point, is that horror is very diverse.
Yeah,
Like i
totally.
i love Evil Dead because it's funny, but it's still horror.
Hmm.
I like the Insidious movies because they're fucking scary sometimes. Stuff's popping out at you, and there's I don't know, it's just kind of fun, like the whole, I don't want to spoil it or whatever. I know it's like an old movie, but I don't like spoiling shit. But what, like, the topic, like what's happening, is an interesting topic, I think.
Yeah.
But and it scares me. It scares me very much. And then as for horror video games, like same thing. I'm just looking for those qualities in a game. I typically play a lot of action horror stuff. I mean, obviously anything from Software, I'll play it. I like that kind of stuff. Like just said, I've been playing Resident Evil. I'll
Hmm.
play anything. Like if you know me, like as OM Jesus the gamer, I'll try any game. If I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't. And the same goes with horror. Like I got the asymmetrical ones. I play Phasmophobia. I've been trying these like haunted house ones you're talking about. I just haven't done the cinematic ones because I'm kind of a late comer to the PlayStation ecosystem,
Sure.
and I'm waiting for the right time to get someone to sit down on the couch and like play this game with me. And I'm like, I want a gun. Give me a gun or something, or a
Okay, you have
sword.
a gun and Until Dawn some of the time, okay?
No, that's cool. I'm just saying that like my biases. It's not that I won't enjoy it. Um, but yeah. So what are some games? Games that like horror games that I first played? I couldn't tell you. Maybe Castlevania, Ghouls and
Well, that's a good
Ghosts.
one.
Maybe Ghouls and Ghosts, like the arcade version,
Hmm.
possibly. Because I'm getting old. Um, but the first like real horror game that affected me was Silent Hill One, and I'll tell you why. So my parents were split up ever since I was a baby, so I just always had like the sometime is with your dad situation. Let me pull up some footage here. And so he like my dad had a PlayStation, so it was like and a gaming computer. So I was like, hey man, I mean at least he's got games at his house, you know what I'm saying? So let's play some games. So I was at one of his houses one day. We break out the PlayStation. Basically no one's home. My dad is going to 7-Eleven and coming back. I just have candles lit
Oh my god.
in the room on top of the big ass CRT TV playing PlayStation, and they're like, play this scary game, face your fears. I'm like, okay. And I play fucking Silent Hill 1. It messed me up, dude. I was so
You should
scared.
never have done that.
I was
You should
so
never have done that.
scared. I wasn't feeling safe in that place. It was crazy. I got as far as there's a moment in this game where you're getting to like a school and you walk in the door and then there's like a heartbeat and like kind of like a musical like tick that's happening, and it's getting faster and faster, like the heartbeat is increasing, and I'm like, I'm about to die. And so I run into this room, I pick up a piece of paper and it's got a bloody poem written in children's handwriting, and then I had to turn it off right there because I was scared of everything back then. Nowadays, I'm like, Silent Hill 1, I'll play through it. I'm trying to catch up on all these games. But the reason why I eventually became not so afraid of this stuff and started to enjoy it is because I played this one video game called Fear 1. I think it's Fear. No. Oh, man. I have to look this up. But, like, the game is Fear. That's the name
It's
of
like
the
an
game.
acronym
Well,
for
it's an
something,
acronym for
right?
something.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like something, something, something response. Whatever. I have to look
That's the
it
one
up.
with the girl, right? They're like doing
Yes.
experiments on her.
Yeah, her name was Alma. I don't know. Oh no, I'm never gonna figure this out. It's
You
just so
just Google the
funny.
word fear, and it's like fear. This is the definition of fear.
Yeah. Oh,
Like
here we
this is what
go.
I mean.
First encounter assault recon. See, so it's not
Perfect.
exactly like spooky, which is interesting. So yeah, the game is about like you know like a ring style character was being operated on because they wanted to make a bunch of clones, and like to ensure that the clones were following their orders, they needed a psychic person to be able to control them remotely, because they were also genetically modified to like accept the signal from like a powerful psychic. So they abduct this girl and then do all sorts of crazy experiments on her, and then a lot of shit happens in the game, which I won't spoil because I think people should go back and play this game because it is iconic for me. And basically she starts haunting everything somehow. So like, is she dead, is she alive, what's happening? But it's a first person shooter game, like through and through, which is what made it so like interesting. As you can see in this footage here, like that guy just turned into feathers. That's crazy, right? Like he was just following his buddy, and then yeah, just weird paranormal shit is happening. But it's also an FPS, and it's like super fast paced. But what was interesting about it on the action side is that you would hold a button and it would slow down time. And so you're constantly going to bullet time and like shooting a bunch of guys in the face, like crazy shit, because you also like have some kind of power. I forget if you like inject something in yourself, like Bioshock style, right, or whatever. But what really sets this game apart, it's like you have this great FPS action, is that all of a sudden you are now in a haunted house. Like it fuck your guns, like fuck your powers. You're now walking down a hallway with like blood, like you're upside down and it's full of blood. Like you're standing on the ceiling upside down and blood is on the bottom. And then you hear like a baby crying and shit. I'm like, I have to open this like door or something. Like, what is happening in this crazy game? There's a lot of jump scares with the little girl. I mean, this was the time that The Ring and all the Japanese horror games came out. So like the scary Japanese girl with the dark hair, was like the aesthetic in this game as well, of course. And they use it really effectively. So I had to face my fears like constantly, like I'm the one who has to open that fucking door. I don't want to go in there. That's scary.
Yeah. I think that's one of the best parts about horror games is like you're doing it to yourself too. You're like,
yeah,
I chose this. I'm like here and to move forward, I have to like go check out that horrible noise. Like
yeah.
I could stop playing at any point, but you're kind of like, I'm putting myself in the situation and I'm gonna get myself out of it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh God. But like I think that it helped translate it to me and like the type of video games that I play, having it also be a first person shooter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Because there was that common ground in that part of the gameplay. I was like, yeah, it's so sick. I want to keep getting to that part, but I have to like face my fears. That's all I got to do. I just got to like be a little scared. Fine, I'll push on. And then at the end of that game, I'm like, oh, I'm a badass now. All of a sudden I could watch horror movies and like, I wasn't scared of shit anymore. It was so weird. It was like, puberty, man.
So that's interesting because I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you consider the Last of Us franchise to be horror? Because I feel like that's one that's like right on the edge, right? Where there's definitely so many horror elements, but it's definitely more of like an action game. Would you place that in a horror category, or would you say no, it's more action adventure?
So that's kind of going to lead it. I think that perfectly leads us into the next little part that we should,
Yeah.
Let's meander over here. So like, we shouted out some games that shaped us, that are important to us. Resident Evil 2 was sick on the PlayStation 1. Just want to say that out loud once. But there's a lot of games out there. And something I like to do is put things in little boxes and label them, you know what I mean? So like horror is kind of diverse. I mean, when you hear horror game, you're probably thinking like we said, Five Nights at Freddy's, something that's gonna go make you go ah, right? But like technically, horror could be a lot of stuff. Like there's platformers. There's like shooters, right? So I figured I'd try to generalize the categories as much as possible, and we could go through these types and then say, hey, is this really horror? Is it not horror? Like, this is kind of why we asked that question in the beginning as well. Like, what does it mean to you too? So just all like a thesis here, So let's start with action horror. I mean, so right off the bat, I do have like, I think shooter on here. So I wouldn't put Fear in this category. I think we have like a separate shooter, but like action horror would be like Dead Rising, Devil May Cry. To me, when I think of action horror, those are the games I think. But also, I guess From Software games like Elden Ring, Bloodborne, especially Bloodborne. I mean, that's a given, right? But I mean, what about Dark Souls? It is also a horror game, kind of. Horrific things happen, but I feel like Dark Souls is way lesser. It's more Bloodborne. Elden Ring for sure, because like everyone's a zombie. Like everything is a fucking zombie.
And they got those hands.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, there's some creepy iconography in that game, all over the place, to some degree. But I feel like Bloodborne, it's undeniable. That's definitely a horror game. That game scared the shit out of me several times because, From Software games, they have enemies jump out at you, and so that's a little startling. But like you put the horror paint all over it, man, with the sound design, incredible.
Like literally Bloodborne is the one game that if they could convince me to play like a From game, I would, because I love the way that Bloodborne looks and I've heard some of the lore, but I just I would need some kind of modification because I am not someone who wants to bash my head against the wall. And as
Yeah.
I already said, I didn't get past the first part of Code Veronica. I'm not getting through Bloodborne by myself. So it's like that's one of those things where I wish there was an easier way to play Bloodborne because I love
Yeah.
the vibes. I think obviously they put so much effort into their design and their audio and their storytelling and everything. I
Hmm.
wish I could get into that world sometimes.
Yeah. I say this to everyone, all it just takes simply is practice. But, time is precious, right? Just do whatever the hell
Yeah.
you want. Like don't waste time on stuff you don't want to do. I get that. But it is very rewarding cuz I used to think that the From games, I'm like that's stupid. Why do I want to do that? I get mad at games, I'm like, fuck, slam. Especially back then. But then I just forced myself to like just keep going, and then I really surprised myself. Bloodborne is hard though. That one is like harder. Like Elden
Yeah,
Ring
like
is way more
especially hard.
approachable. But yeah, Bloodborne is really tough because like you can't block in that game. The only way to counter is to wait before, like right before they attack. Basically, you have to already shoot them with your gun, which is like such a weird parry window. But it's
Yeah.
it's so fucking cool. It's such a cool game. Other action games though, like action horror, like what games would you consider action horror? Like Dead Rising? Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I really like Dead Rising. I didn't play Dead Rising 1, but I really like Dead Rising 2.
Oh yeah.
Um which that one was a really good one when you talk about like the multifacet of horror because I think like Dead Rising the whole franchise is a horror game that's not that scary, but
Hmm.
it's still horror. Like I don't think horror necessarily always has to like be terrifying. Um because like Dead Rising is funny. Like it's just
Yeah.
inherently goofy and weird, but there is like that they did something so unique with that like time mechanic where it's like you just literally can't get everything done. You have to make these choices. You like in the second one you have to bring back the medicine for your daughter and like if you don't do that like she literally just does turn into a zombie and like whatever. Um
Shit.
I really like those games. I think they're really fun. And the sort of open world nature of them is in a way that's like you're really kind of doing your own thing and kind of
Hmm.
getting what you take out of this game. If you
Yeah.
want to play it really serious, you can. If you want to make a lightsaber out of the materials you find in the mall, you can also do that.
In this clip, he's got a tennis racket and a tennis ball, and I think you can use it as a. I played this
Yeah.
one too. I think you can use it as a ranged weapon as well. But like, yeah, it's so funny in the second one, how you can fuse things together and all
Mm,
the creativity you can do with that. But like, what makes Dead Rising fun, and as much as it's like annoying, is the timer system. I think that
yeah.
really makes it interesting and super replayable. You know, it's really exciting. I played a little bit of one. I rented two. I think via GameFly, and then when we got the Xbox One, I got three because it was like one of the really early titles, and I played the
Hmm.
shit out of three. I thought it was really fun, and they like that's when you had the Connect, right? Like you had to have a Connect, and
Hmm.
there was like kind of a light bar coming out of your Xbox controller, so like you could do gestures
Oh,
with your
really?
controller to do stuff in the game, and like there was also a companion app for the Xbox One, and what was interesting about this game is that it was your cell phone in
Oh, that's
game.
cool.
Yeah, so you can like call people or like people will call you. You like your phone's going off, so you like hold on,
That's
let me
really
get to a safe
fun.
place and answer my phone. So it like Connect kind of had cool shit, but everyone hated it, and I was like, I'm not
Yeah, they
gonna.
kind of shot themselves in the foot with that one.
Yeah, it really could have gone somewhere, but it's fine. We don't need that shit. Now we got Oculuses and stuff. I need to get one of those.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dead Rising, cool, and then of course, like I said, Devil May Cry. Those games are really cool.
Yeah, I would maybe put I never action and adventure are so confusing to me. I feel like I always fuse them together because I'm like, which
Yeah.
makes one? Like I would put the Alan Wake 2 and Alan Wake somewhere in the action adventure section as well.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, right? Like I could have made this list like 20 more
Yeah, so
labels,
many games.
right? Like cuz there is action adventure, point click adventure. So I figured let's mold it a little here. Adventure to me would be like, you know, Yeah, it's like your haunted house, right? But it's
Mhm.
also like something with the story. So, I wouldn't say it's an interactive drama. We have that for our Dark Pictures games in the Quarry and obviously Until Dawn. So with adventure, I'm just trying to cover everything like horror that's got kind of a story that you go through, like a narrative that isn't an interactive drama or point and click.
Sure.
So I figured this is kind of a meaty one. So the last of us I put on there because it's it is an adventure. It's just a horrific one. I put it on there because it is about zombies technically, so it
Mhm.
is horror, but it's more like a horror drama.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's one of those ones I think similar to Bioshock where I can really see the arguments either way. Like I can see people saying it's not horror because it really is
Yeah,
more of a drama or it really is more of an adventure or but there are so many horror elements I think baked into both of those games where it's like what is not a clicker is inherently horrific like just
yeah,
looking at it.
they're scary.
um and honestly just even the situation of the things that they're dealing with throughout the game
Yeah,
is pretty horrific. Even the things that are not monsters, you know, when
yeah.
when the people are monsters, that's also pretty horrific as well. So, I definitely would say The Last of Us is a horror game in an essence. Yeah,
You like two?
I do like two. I
Me
liked
too.
two a lot.
Loved it.
I didn't play two until maybe last year or the year before, and I was
Mm.
managed to not get anything spoiled for me, and I had a really
Oh man,
emotional experience streaming that game
yeah,
on
me too.
Twitch, and it was great.
Yeah, I was crying on stream during COVID playing that fucking game. It's pretty
Yeah.
funny looking back on it, but that is a really good man. Those two games back to back, crazy, crazy
Yeah.
experience. Luigi's Mansion is on this list.
Just complete
What do you
opposite end of the spectrum.
what do you think of that?
Oh, I love Luigi's Mansion. I think that's one of the things that like I really champion. Um, and we kind of talked about this a little bit, but it's like we're talking about horror is so many things, and I think people when you say horror, like they're like keep that away from children, like that's adults, keep it away, and like I think it's actually extremely important to introduce younger people to scary things in an appropriate way. Like don't let your kid watch Terrifier,
Oh
obviously. Don't let your kid play
God,
Fear when they're 7, but
no.
like I think having little light scary experiences as
Hmm.
a child is so important. Like it can be really fun. It can like I said help you process your emotions. And I think Luigi's Mansion is perfect. It's got the spooky ghost, but everything's really friendly. You've got Luigi. He's a scaredy cat too. So like it's kind of the game saying like it's okay to be scared. It's fun. And like you have these really cool I think the sets are like the different levels are so beautifully designed. The gameplay like is so easy but fun to do. Like I really love having so many different levels of horror games and so many different types so that like everyone can enjoy something a little bit spooky.
Yeah,
Um
it's like the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland, dude.
exactly.
You know, you got to have like one spooky thing in there. Or going back to older gaming days, N64, even Mario had the ghost level, and that shit was
Yeah.
scary, dude. That
Hmm.
music and that like weird, what was it? Whirly round. What do you call those?
I don't know. I didn't have an N64, so I didn't play that.
I could still hear
Like I
that
told you,
music.
I was a
So
Sega
creepy.
kid.
Ah, Sega kid. I was always a Nintendo, but I like everything, so I always ended up
Yeah.
getting everything. I got the PlayStation 1, Xbox, Super Nintendo. Man, I had a bunch of things. My cousin had the Genesis, so I still got to play Sonic and Echo the Dolphin, which is like the first Dark Souls game.
Yeah, for real. Echo was hard.
Fuck that
That
game.
was another one I had on Dreamcast that I was like, dang, this shark will not leave me alone.
The sharks come after you. But yeah, it's like one of those games where when you die, it starts all the way at the beginning, no matter how far you got, and it's like super hard.
Hmm.
I'm like, screw that. At least they don't do that in Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Plague Tale. Did you play Plague Tale?
I did. I really enjoyed that. Was another good one. I think another one where it's like very story forward, a really
Mm-hmm.
interesting story. I like the sort of historical. bent of that one too, having like a little bit of a historical horror drama. That's one too I think could be debatable, but I
Hmm.
think definitely I would say is horror.
Yeah, I think it's pretty horrific at times. There's a
I don't want
part.
that many rats around me.
Well, you think about the rats and stuff, and yes, it's already a nightmare, right? Get away from me, man. Don't give me diseases, please. But there is a part where you're like walking through a battlefield that is just miles of corpses, and
Yeah.
you have to step on corpses for a while. It's pretty horrific. So I think that it fits. That's
Yeah,
at least
for
what I
sure.
think. Also, there's that Observer game everyone talks about is like a sci-fi one. I still haven't
Yeah.
played it, but I hear it's really good.
It's good. I liked that one, but I did find it's a little obtuse sometimes.
Ah.
I found myself like really struggling to know what to do next in some points. But
Mhm.
I am a really big like neo noir,
Mhm.
like cyberpunk fan, so
Hell
that
yeah.
definitely fits into that area. I really like little games, like smaller horror experiences. I think I've been learning to appreciate a lot more. Like we have our
Mhm.
heavy hitters like Resident Evil and Silent Hill and lots of other big ones. But like these small experiences, I think I'm learning to appreciate so much more as I have less time, and also I feel like sometimes you don't want to be scared for like 20 hours in a row.
Yeah, definitely.
So there's like games like Observer kind of reminded me. Did you ever play Soma?
No, that's also on my list though. I
Yeah,
always
that.
hear everyone says play Soma. I played Layers of Fear. You know,
It's kind of similar, but Soma is really good. It's like
nice.
I would also put that one somewhere on the list too because I really enjoyed that one.
Oh yeah, definitely. They're all on the list. You know, I'm trying to catch up.
Yeah, I know.
We got to be Resident Evil 1, man. Gosh, it's a rough time. I also put Phasmophobia on there just because I was like, where else am I going to put this? But to some degree, it's like a multiplayer ghost adventure. Because, I mean, come on. There's the show Ghost Adventures. And that's what you're doing. You're hunting ghosts with actual ghost hunting equipment, like real life style ghost hunting equipment with friends. And it's really interesting. It's really scary. It's
I've yet
a
to
haunted
play this,
house.
and I really want to.
You should.
So
It'll be on console soon.
yeah, I'm excited. I need to play. I need to find some people to play with.
You got me.
So yeah, let
We'll
me
do it.
know if you want to play.
I'm making everyone buy this game and play it with me. Well, it's coming to PlayStation 5 and Xbox ecosystem on the 29th. So
Oh,
now
nice.
everyone
Just
can
in
play
time
it.
for Halloween.
It's awesome. But no, the really interesting thing about that game, which won't be on console, but you can use like buttons to still send messages, is that it has built-in voice recognition software within the game. So when you talk to the ghost, it understands what you're saying. And so like
Oh my
it'll
god.
respond like so depending on certain ghosts that don't like you fucking with it, you talk shit to the ghost and you're like, "Hey ghost, you're a bitch." It'll like the lights will shut off and then they'll reveal themselves and do something like stuff like that
I would never
happens.
say that to a ghost,
I
okay?
know it's a bad idea. I'm sorry, ghost in this room that apparently,
You're a perfectly lovely ghost.
but it's a really interesting game for sure. Talking about multiplayer, we do have the asymmetrical multiplayer games, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, which I still need to buy, Friday the 13th, which I have for free somewhere. I don't know where exactly, but I hear the servers aren't even up for that anymore. Alien vs Predator, the Evil Dead the game
Yeah.
is another one of those.
Dead by
Also Dead by
Daylight.
Daylight, of course, that's the heavy hitter. What do you think of these?
I so I just played Dead by Daylight for the first time with Kind of Funny, and I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it. It's been something that's like piqued my interest for a long time, and I really enjoyed it. My issue with multiplayer games is I just feel like I never meet up with people at the right time. Like I need to like find, but I was always like very interested in Friday the 13th. I think I might have played that one a couple of times.
Yeah.
I think my issue with these is that one, they're definitely horror. My issue with me personally playing them is just like I feel like if you don't play a multiplayer game like all the time, then everyone's so much better at it than you, and there's all these
Right.
metas, and I'm like, I'm just trying to have a spooky time, you guys.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the game. Like, Dead by Daylight is like one of those games that you're describing where, over time you level up, and so everybody is just so far ahead of you. But you play a game
Yeah.
like Phasmophobia, I mean, someone might have the equipment like
Mm,
to help you, and that's helpful. But with these asymmetrical ones, like a lot of them are maybe like battle royale kind of vibes, so it doesn't matter. Like there's no like everyone starts at like the bottom level, or it just you play a few rounds and you kind of get it. Like Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed is a lot of fun. I did get that on Epic, and I'm sure there might be some kind of ghost meta or whatever, but like for the most part, there's not a ton of equipment that'll give you like a lot of boosts or anything. You just kind of have
sure.
to learn how to, like, if you're the ghost, for instance, you just try different strategies. Like what you're doing is you're going into rooms, you're haunting a chair, which makes it like covered in ooze and then move on its own. And you just kind of go room to room and you're like haunting the house. You're fucking with people and the ghosts are just trying to find you. Like that is just basic skills rather than like a level up type of system. So at least that's happening. At least that with Evil Dead and that one. But I feel you, dude. This is why I don't play Dead by Daylight specifically. Killer Clowns
I
from Outer
want
Space too, I think, is like more laid back. Like you just jump in and you might suck at first because you just don't know the levels or like your abilities, but like just a couple tries and you're in there. Mostly it's just having fun with friends.
I do feel like the thing that is so frustrating about Dead by Daylight because I want to join in is like they've done like the Fortnite thing where they have like every cool horror IP of all time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I want to play as Jigsaw. Oh, I want to play as Alan Wake. Oh, they have Ripley. Oh, you can be they have like every cool horror IP. And I'm like, dang, I wish it wasn't so hard to get into the game because I'm such a sucker for I love horror movies and I love all of these things that they're bringing into it. So I might give that one a more try in the future. We'll see.
Yeah, I could too. I have a friend that literally only plays a killer, so you could do that too. You
Oh,
know what I
that's
mean?
true.
If you just
Just
want
get
to
really good
like
at one thing.
just like murder people on a daily basis, you totally can. That's gonna bring us to the next one, which you like, interactive drama.
My favorite.
So
We already talked at length about Until Dawn, but
we did. Well, what about some other ones? I mean, besides the Dark Pictures ones, is there like other one like horrors, like FMV games these days?
so there's a couple here and there. I will say like Supermassive is kind of the big heavy hitter company that's doing this the best.
Hmm.
Um there was another I don't know who the publisher or the creator is. There was one that was called Erica that came out a while ago
Oh
for
yeah.
PS4. That was like a FMV horror, and that was kind of fun. And then there's also a company that's not specifically horror, but they're just doing a lot of FMV games, and I think some of them are horror.
Hmm.
They're called like Blood and Sand, and like I can't remember what that developer is called either.
Hmm.
Whale Interactive, I think, is what
Oh,
they're called. So they do
nice.
some FMV ones, but that is something like I definitely personally, as a lover of this genre, I feel like there's like room for someone else. Someone else can come and also make some of these games because I think they're so fun and like I said, there's such a small barrier to entry if you're not like a really good gamer or not a experienced gamer.
Hmm.
They're very easy and really easy to get maybe non-gamer friends or partners to play with you. So
Hmm.
I think like I really enjoyed what they were trying to do with the Dark Pictures anthology as well, where like the games were a little bit shorter and they're changing subjects all the time. I think they kind of got a little bit lost towards the end of their Dark Pictures games, but I'm really excited to see what they do next.
Hmm.
The next one that's coming out is supposed to be it's called Directive 8020, I believe, and it's like on a space station.
Ooh.
It's giving me the Thing vibes
Oh,
based
that's
on the trailer.
right. Yeah, I saw that.
So
Yeah,
I'm
that looks
definitely
dope.
intrigued by that.
I mean, that's how they get me. Like, I love, Alien and Event Horizon and like Dead
Hmm.
Space. You know what I mean? So I'm all in on that one. I'll definitely try
Yeah.
that one out. Yeah, they seem cool. I just wanted to shout out this game I can't remember the name of either. It's like something Somna or something. It's like in Spanish, I think. But what makes it that game interesting is that it's half FMV game, half like NES style or old school point and click adventure, like 8-bit. So you'll go through and do things, and then when scary stuff happens, you'll see the room, but like it's real, and now it's like a FMV, and you'll see like a
That's
fucked up
cool.
monster coming at you, and then it cuts back to the 8-bit, and you can click and move and like run away. It's really interesting, like fusion of the
I have to check
crossing
that
of the
out.
streams.
I really think like I understand. I feel like FMV games like definitely have their place. I would love to see some other people also like find some interesting ways. Like I really enjoyed I'm losing my what it was called. It was by Half Mermaid, the FMV game about the actress. And it was like
Oh,
her three different
yes,
roles.
Immortality. Yeah,
Immortality, like that's not really that I
kind
feel
of a
like that's a
horror.
maybe debatable horror.
It's kind of,
But
yeah.
I think like there's some really cool ways to use FMV like that.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I'm so excited to see what people do in the future. And
yeah.
one of the things which we haven't really talked about is I was just the Blumhouse horror
Oh yeah,
video game imprint that's they're developing. I just played Fear the Spotlight. I loved that game. That was kind of like a
cool.
retro I don't know which category I would put it in.
Probably adventure.
Maybe
That's
yeah,
kind of what
maybe
I
just like a
was
little
thinking, like, in
retro
general.
PS1 style adventure. And it was so cool and it was such a fun little game.
Hmm.
And I'm excited to see what else they do in these different genres and these different uh options because I really liked Fear the Spotlight. I thought it was really fun.
Yeah, it seems super cool and like definitely a game that I'm interested in playing. Because Blumhouse, great. If they're gonna put their stamp on something, it's probably cinematic and it's probably mostly scary. You know,
Hmm.
like I love the PS1 style graphics. I think it looks great. So I'm glad to hear that it's a good game. But yeah, I think any game like this where like there's sort of a story, you're just kind of like walking through and like figuring something out or doing a puzzle, and it's sort of scary. Like, oh my god, what's that side scroller one? Where you're the little sack guy and big monsters are
Oh,
running after you all the time.
what is
Fudge.
that one?
I can't remember the name, but I played it and I loved it. That's definitely an adventure game. And now there's gonna be
Yeah.
like a new one. It's multiplayer, I think. Right?
I think I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of the name either.
God, help us chat. But by the
Leave a
way,
comment.
yeah, leave a comment as well. Uh, I'll give you a heart if you're the first one. Um, Half Mermaid is also developing Project C and Project D, which do look very horror focused. I'm really looking
Yeah.
forward to that. And I played through Telling Lives. I was super hooked. My only qualm with Immortality is that it like sort of forces you to finish at some point.
Yeah.
Which was like I was trying to like unlock every video file, and then I inadvertently ended the game. But it was crazy. Like some shit happens in that game where you're like, whoa, that's fucked up.
Like you're like, what is happening?
Yeah, damn. Is this real? Is this a movie? Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I would definitely put that in the horror category. We also should briefly mention platforming as a horror thing. Apparently, that game Bramble the Mountain King, which Steven always tells me about, is platforming.
I've never
And
even heard of this.
yeah, definitely check it out. I'll pull up footage right now. But it's kind of like in the adventure category, but it is a platforming game. Is what I hear. You know what I mean? So I get it's like side scrolly, if you will, and you're jumping around. Hold on. There's some nudity apparently. Hopefully not in the
Oh,
trailer. Hopefully not in the
in
trailer.
Bramble.
Jesus, I didn't know that. Are you seeing it? You're probably not
What
seeing
kind
it.
of? Oh no.
Oh no, wrong window, guys. I'm so
Oh,
sorry.
there we go.
Can you see it now? There you go.
Yes.
All right, cool. Yeah, it's this game right here. So you just kind of run around, jump around. I guess this even fits in the adventure category. So it's almost like there really isn't a lot of platformers, but the main thing about platformers is in the NES era, in like the 90s, right? They had all sorts of licensed games for like movies, right? And they did that shit for horror movies. There was like a Freddy
Mhm.
Krueger one. I think there was also one with Friday the 13th, I think. I don't know if that's more of a platformer, but like, yeah, there was weird platformers, but there's not a lot. I don't know. I just thought I would shout it out that they do
There's a
exist.
really I didn't play it, but I watched my husband play it. And he loved it. There was a really good like Metroidvania platformer game for the Mummy, like the most
Ooh,
recent Mummy that had Tom
Tom
Cruise in it.
Cruise. Yeah.
And like the movie is awful. The movie is terrible. Do
So
not
bad.
watch that movie. But the game was really well done. And I don't play that style of game generally, but he loved it.
Wow.
So if you like that kind of like Metroidvania game, I would recommend that one too.
Okay. It's hard to find. I can't even find it, but I have to look that up
Oh,
later.
yeah. If I find it, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, definitely send it over if
Um,
you can. Let's see. What else do we got here? We have
well, would you put like a Limbo here? Are those types of
yes.
games?
Yes, that
That's
makes
kind
sense
of
to
like a
me.
platformer.
Yeah. I think I think Limbo works. I don't know if the other one works because I feel like that's
Yeah.
more of an adventure and stealth game, right?
Hmm.
But yeah, good call. Not Bramble. Maybe Bramble. Apparently, according to this wiki, Bramble fits there, but definitely Limbo. That game was good, by the way. Okay, and then we have point and click, which back in the day, like on old school computers, that was where horror lived. Like, everything was a point and click adventure that's a horror game,
Yeah.
You have to like it's trapped in a room, it's creepy, you gotta find the key, you gotta find this and that. Oh, it is this
Yeah, they
demastered
just.
game. Okay.
Oh, did you find it?
Oh yeah, Mr. Hawks linked it. Thank you, sir. Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Mr. Hawks.
Always with the
They're
assist.
they're remastering, or they did the Clock Tower game too, one of those like
Oh,
classic. Yeah, I think that's coming out or it's about to come out.
nice. Yeah, that's definitely one of them. And there's just so
But
many,
yeah,
you know
there's a lot.
Five Nights at Freddy's does fit point and click apparently because you don't move around, you're just clicking through cameras. So
Hmm.
that technically fits. Uh, like you said, the clock tower is on this list. And you have a lot of stuff I haven't heard of that are probably really old. Dark Seed from 1992. Uninvited from 1986 on the or Apple II, Amiga, Commodore 64, and then more recently with World of Horror, which was super cool. I tried the demo, but if you don't know what that is, it's like a Junji Ito style, like Japanese point and click adventure that sort of
Oh,
plays like
fun.
the old school PC D&D, like advanced D&D games where it's like first person and you click to move forward or left or right and you just walk down a hallway and like each screen is just walking down a hallway in some direction. It's like that, but Junji Ito like art and like it's like
Oh, interesting.
16-bit.
That sounds really
Yeah,
interesting.
it's super sick, dude. Check out World of Horror. Of course, my buddy PJ Julian from Kind of Funny, who's in our Discord, was talking about that game a bunch when it was coming out. There's also rail shooters, which we just got to mention. House of the Dead, Area
Hmm.
51. I guess technically could be horror, but it's mostly House of the Dead.
Yeah, they did also make an Until Dawn rail shooter that you can play.
Really?
Yeah, it
No
was
way.
called Rush of Blood. Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm looking up.
I think it was
This is incredible.
for the PS4, yeah.
Rush
I played it
of
once, but
Blood
I'm not like
gameplay.
I'm not a big rail shooter person, so I didn't play it for very long.
Yeah, I mean, I loved arcades back in the day. You know, that's what it was all about. I mean, I guess it's just in VR, but same thing.
Oh, is it just VR? But yeah, it's like on rails.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they made a cabinet, but like arcades are sort of dead now, which is kind of makes
Yeah.
me sad sometimes. But dude, House of the Dead was sick. Typing of the Dead was sick. You ever heard of Typing of the Dead?
Hmm.
Okay, did you know there was arcade cabinets for
I did
Typing
not
of
know
the
that.
Dead? Yes, they had like old school shitty 90s keyboards on them, and there was two, right? So
Oh my
you would
god.
see an arcade cabinet with two keyboards where you could walk up and then type to shoot the zombies. It's just crazy. This looks fun though. I really need to get a VR headset. I keep saying that. One day.
There's some fun games out there. The That Batman game that just came
Oh
out
my
is
god.
like trying to convince me. I feel like it's like tempting me into upgrading. I have the Oculus One, but I don't use it to game that much other than play Beat Saber
Yeah.
and some other rhythm games. But I need to expand my VR gaming.
I mean, there's a lot. I mean, obviously, if you had just an Oculus, or no, I guess you'd have to have the Steam one or something like that. I really don't know, but like the Half-Life Alyx game just looked incredible, you know. And then there's some
Yeah.
other ones where, like, there's that one where you have like the sword, you could just like kill guys that just keep
Oh
running at you,
yeah.
you know, shit like that's fun. There's like shooting galleries, you know, you could, I'm sure you'd be like, play this free shooting gallery game. You have a little ray gun, shoot targets. I mean, you know, one day. I mean, my sister has one, and I've gone over there and tried it out. I'm like, damn, I'm sweaty. Beat Saber's crazy, bro.
It is. It's a workout. There's also like legit. I do VR boxing a lot, and that's a legit workout. Like
Wow.
I
Yeah.
feel that in my shoulders.
Shit. See, this is why. Like this. That's how you get me to do cardio like regularly. You just put a headset on,
Make it a
turn me into a
game.
fucking Jedi. There's reverse horror, which I can't find a lot of. So I just want to shout out Carry On. I don't know if you played it. You played
No,
Carry On?
I haven't played it, but I've seen it. I think it's cool.
Yeah, you're just a monster eating people. So like reverse horror is like in a violent nature, like we're talking. You're seeing that movie through the eyes of like the Jason Voorhees character. Same idea. There's another game called Head Lice that I played a demo of that's apparently reverse horror, and it's fine. But let's get some more. All right. I guess asymmetrical horror, it kind of fills that hole, I guess, too, technically, because you know, one side of the teams is reverse horror, but you know, now we're getting into the weeds.
Well, I have a pitch for a game that I've always wanted, and I think I'm just a weirdo, so I don't know how well it would be received. But I always wanted to have a game where I am Jigsaw and I make traps for all the people. And I just think that would be so fun, and so someone
Holy
should make that.
shit.
Would that not be the most fun game?
Okay, you are pitching $1 million idea right now. Do you
Right?
see the simulators on Steam? Like, dude, during Next Fest, I tried like 10 simulators. There was like a shopping stall simulator. There was fast food simulator. There was movie theater simulator. Jigsaw simulator,
Yeah,
dude.
and you
What?
build your own little traps, and then you can put people in them. I feel like it's somehow
That's
like
engineering.
Yeah, exactly. Like if
Fuck.
you ever built a roller coaster in Roller Coaster Tycoon that shot off and killed everyone, if you ever put everyone in a pit, or if you
Yep.
ever put your Sims in the pool and took the ladder away, this game is for you. You could be Jigsaw too.
It's like Goldberg, but like a nightmare.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what we need to make.
that's incredible. I like games where you build shit. You know what I mean? So I'm down. Like I think it's called Hero Quest, where you make your own Zelda dungeons, and that's a lot of fun.
That's
Or
cool.
Mario Maker. You know, that's what you're designing here. Except for it's chains connected to someone's nipples, but real deep, so it'll rip
Yeah,
their chest
real
cavity
deep.
out, and they have to like fucking I don't know, solve a mathematical equation. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, like, what would the limits be? You know, I don't know. That'd
I
be
think
crazy.
it's like you have all these different pieces and you can put them together and find
Yeah.
different combinations.
That'd be a lot of fun. It's just sitting on the table. The money's sitting on the table, indie devs.
The money's there for y'all.
It really is. We also have roguelikes, which Inscription. Got to shout that out.
I need to play that. I've heard such good things about it.
Cult of the Lamb,
And
even though it's
everyone's
cute.
like, oh, there's a twist.
There
Yes,
is.
I love Cult of the Lamb.
Inscription is not what you think right off the bat. That's what's interesting, but I still need to keep going with it. At one point, half of the game kind of goes on pause, and you have to like play the card game to a certain point. I think that's kind of where I left off because I was like having fun with other parts, and I'm just like, you know, I'll get there. But there's also Darkest Dungeon. Do you ever play that? See, that's more cosmic horror or like psychological
I
horror.
love that.
It's a dungeon crawler, right? You get 4 adventures, and the deeper you go, the more damage to their sanity that they take, that they start to like lose themselves. And so, you know, you want to try to come back with everyone alive. That doesn't always happen because people start to go crazy, and you know, no one really heals in the dungeon, so it gets really dire really fast. It's like stressful, but the horror is in your mind.
Always is.
There's shooters. We covered what is it? Fear. But there's like Dying Light, World War Z, Dead Space 3, Resident Evil 5 and 6 specifically, Metro, Half-Life, maybe Metroid Prime, I guess to some
Yeah,
kids perhaps. I don't know.
there's some definitely spooky stuff in Metroid.
What's your favorite horror shooter? It can be first person, third person, whatever.
Ooh,
Anything.
I don't know. I really enjoyed the Dead Space remake, the one that just came out. That was really scary. Like, I wasn't expecting to be as scared as I was because I think, like, I don't know, I feel like there was a conception for me, like, if I have a weapon, I'll be less scared because I can actually do something. Whereas, like, I feel like not having anything makes it a little scarier because you're like, oh, if I see
Yeah.
something, I just have to run away or hide. But it's still really, really scary. And playing that game with headphones is like a mistake. You just
No, it's the
hear
way to do it.
all these noises.
The sound design in that
Oh,
game, like they should have
so good.
won an award for it. It was incredible. Um, oh
So I would say
man.
that's probably one of my tops. I'm trying to think of other
See
shooters I would
that
have played.
that
I'm
does
not a
kind of
big
fit.
shooter, so I haven't played that many.
Yeah, I would say that fits in our we're going to have a bonus one after this, but our next category, which is survival horror. But just to talk quickly about shooters, Half-Life definitely is a horror game. Technically definitely because some scary shit be happening in that game. It's got
Yeah.
zombies in it. There's a lot of blood and guts, and it's just iconic. I just have to give Half-Life its due. And then, Dead Space 3 is definitely a shooter because they take all that horror out of it, and now it's just like Aliens, right? Where it's just people shooting the scary monster from the first one. The same thing with Resident Evil 5. And then, 5 is literally a co-op third-person shooter, like literally. And then Resident Evil 6, which is ridiculous, I hear. I still haven't tried it.
Yeah, I've heard the jokes.
And then,
I've
by the
seen
way,
the memes.
Half-Life 2 also is scary as hell, especially when you get to Ravencroft with the jumping fucking zombies and the noises they make. Just like, same thing, BioShock. I would say BioShock might be your favorite horror shooter.
Oh yeah,
Technically.
I could put that in shooter. Yeah,
It's
probably
definitely a
Bioshock.
shooter.
I really enjoyed Bioshock.
That game is so scary. I just want to shout out a moment in that game where you're with that guy who does the art stuff in the theater, I think. And then at one point, he turns on I think a Mozart or a song from the Sugar Plum Fairy. I think that's Tchaikovsky. And so it's like a from the Nutcracker Suite song, right? And that's playing, and the lights are just red, and he just sends a fuck ton of slicers at you, and you're just running away, and it's so scary because like they run as fast as you and they gain on you, and so you just have this really scary person running at you. Like that game is scary at times. I'll
They
never
get so
forget
scary.
that.
Literally, some of the scariest parts are like when you come into an area and there's all this ammo, and I'm like, okay, well, fuck me.
Like,
Like, I only have 3 bullets, and now you just gave me like 30. So that means something horrible is about to happen.
some shit's
That's
about
like
to go down.
the Pavlovian response of seeing a pile of ammo
Yeah.
in Bioshock. It's just like sends you
Yeah.
into a cold sweat.
Yeah, Dead Space, same thing. I'm like, there's all these crates.
Yeah.
I'm stomping on them. Like, I'm getting some heavy ammo. Fuck. This is gonna
Something
suck,
bad
dude.
is about to happen.
But yeah, I probably would say the shooter horror genre is like one of my favorites. Like Gears of War, I think would even fit in the horror genre a little bit. At times, it's kind of scary. There's some grotesque shit happening. I don't know, but definitely Fear. I just have to just love that game so much. The first
I
two
feel like
were
I could
good.
also make a argument for Mass Effect. Like
Yeah.
some
Oh
of
yeah.
the stuff going on in Mass Effect's pretty spooky.
Yeah. Scary robots, scary monsters, alien monsters. Yeah. Oh yeah. The Geth. Those guys are creepy looking, dude. Just like see a bunch of like lit up robot eyes looking at you. Robots can be scary. Have you ever seen Chopping Mall
Oh, definitely.
from the '90s or from
Yeah,
the '80s?
exactly.
Yeah, they'll
You
kill
play
you.
Alien Isolation, those robots will fuck you up.
Dude, fuck those aliens. Those guys scare me. They're like they're white eyes and they're like glowing down the hallway.
And they're
Fuck
so
that.
tough.
So tough. So tough. Okay, and then so survival horror. I mean, that's the classic one, Resident Evil, Silent Hill, all that fun stuff. You know,
Yeah.
would you say Dead
I feel like
Space?
that survival horror is, I think, what most people think of, I feel like, when they
Yeah.
think of horror games.
Yep.
Because I feel like there's obviously like the big ones, but then I feel like there's also a lot of the smaller, like Steam games that are like, they're also horror, but you're just surviving. I'm trying to think of what that one of those iconic ones that has like the sanity meter.
Oh,
Layers of
Eternal
Fear.
Darkness.
There's like
Eternal
that
Darkness. Yeah.
one. There's another one I'm thinking of that they.
Game with sanity
What am I
meter.
thinking of? Um,
Uh,
but those
Lunar Lander, Winter Survival, Stygian, Reign of the Old Ones, Green Hell. Like I said, Darkest
there's a
Dungeon.
lot.
Knock Knock,
There's a lot of
Amnesia, The Dark
Amnesia,
Descent.
that's what I was thinking of.
Thank you, Giant Bomb. This fucking Giant
Thank you,
Bomb with the
Giant
list.
Bomb. We love you.
That's perfect.
Like I feel like that is what a lot of people think of when they think of horror, is like survival, right? Where you're just like,
Yeah.
you're helpless, you're like going insane, something
Yeah, I mean-
horrible is chasing you.
Silent Hill 2, which just came out,
Mm-hmm.
is a game where you have a gun and you have a stick, but you don't have all the ammo in the world and you have to survive. You know, Resident Evil 1. I'll beat you. I'll beat you. I'm playing it on the hard mode because I like to suffer. I'm sorry. Sorry to myself.
You didn't need to say that because you already said you love Elden Ring, so you
You're
didn't
right.
need to repeat yourself that
You're
you
right.
like to suffer.
But yeah, there are a lot of survival horror games, of course, too. And then you could argue like, oh, maybe, you know, the adventure games, whatever. Again, I'm not going to debate this shit. All right. But Choo Choo Charles is on the list for survival horror.
Choo Choo Charles.
It is Callisto Protocol, which makes sense. Which, by the way, I went to this retro gaming store here in Vegas, and they just happened to have give free game away day, and you just walk up and they say what system, and then they hand you a game. And I said PS5, and he handed me Callisto Protocol, and it had a sticker on it, and it said, "Come see the front people, you know, ask about this." And I'm like, okay. And they just handed me the collector's edition for free, and all I did was walk in
That's
there.
awesome.
It was fucking crazy, and I was like,
That's cool.
okay, I mean, I already owned it on Epic, but this is incredible. So now I'm really excited. I have the statue.
Yeah.
It's been on my downstairs as part of my horror decor for this month.
That's the one
Crazy.
that's voiced by Troy Baker, right?
Yes, I think so. I think so.
Or is that...
Is it? Wait, it might not be.
No.
I don't know. I actually don't know. I forget.
There was like a couple of ones that came out around the same time that I get confused.
Got Fatal Frame.
Oh,
Remember
Fatal
those?
Frame. That's always been on my list that I need to play as a photographer.
Murder House. What? From 2020, apparently. Nun Massacre from 2018.
Never heard of it.
All the Resident Evils, of course. Kind of invented the genre. Tattletale? Sounds familiar. Oh, that's some Five Nights at Freddy's shit. Cool. That's basically everything, but there is one last very otaku-based style, weeboo style genre called visual novels. Apparently there are a bunch of horror ones. There's also RPGs. I guess I could be on the list too, but not so much. Like there's this one anime that I forget the name of that was like I watched it and then realized it was made in RPG Maker originally. So like technically that's a horror game. But yeah, like Doki Doki Literature Club and stuff. I mean, do you play visual novel games?
Not really. Like, I feel like it might be something that I've heard so much about Doki Doki Literature Club. I've watched a couple people play it, but it's not a genre that like generally speaks to me, which is funny because I love like the storytelling ones. But I feel like the visual novel's like one step further away from playing, where I'm like, well, I just don't want to press a button. Like, I want to do a little bit more.
Yeah. And this isn't horror focused at all, but if you ever really want to play a visual novel game that is engaging, definitely you have to play the Ace Attorney series. It's
I've
on
heard
Game
good things
Pass.
about those.
It's on Game Pass right now. The original trilogy. It's like, because with visual novels sometimes it's more of almost like a dating sim, you know. So you're trying to like date this girl and whatever. So there's some choices. You're like choosing like what you do, or you're choosing the gift to give them or something. But an ace attorney, you're a defense attorney, and you have a lot of evidence. And there are moments where you're like investigating the scene and you're like clicking on stuff. So it's kind of more point and clicky. So I feel like that's a good
Nice.
way to kind of get into it. But yeah, I mean, these are big. Spirit Hunter Deathmark 2, Song of Saya, Umi Neko no Naku Koro ni, Higurashi no Naku Koro ni Kai. That
I'm
was
glad
the
you're
second
reading
one.
these.
Yeah. Slow Damage. What's their number one? Let's see. Their number one is Umineko no Naku Noro ni Chiru, which is the fourth one in the series. Hopefully I
Oh,
said that right.
the fourth one is where it got really good.
Apparently that's the best horror visual novel out there. Or you could just look When They Cry for, because that's the English name.
Oh, there you go.
But hey, so yeah, lots of horror games, lots of different ways to experience in them. Don't forget, again, there are horror RPGs. Like, I guess you could say like Witcher horror
Yeah.
RPG, whatever. Like you said, Mass Effect. But it's not as simple as you think. It's not always just walking through a haunted house or looking through cameras or like ghosts. Sometimes it's you fucking up a demon with the sword and trying to get a combo up till the grade says S. Other times it's sitting down and watching a movie that you choose the outcome of, right?
Yep.
Stuff like that. Do you have any other games you want to shout out?
Yeah. Like you said, horror's for everyone. I've been really enjoying like a lot of indie horror recently. So I've been playing Fears to Fathom, which I believe is like made by one single person, by this guy in his bedroom, I think. And they're kind of, yeah, like more indie looking like PS1 era graphics where they're like based kind of like on creepy pastas or something, or like Reddit stories of like something spooky that happened to this person, but you are doing choice based things and you're like reading your text messages and you're experiencing these cool spooky things that are happening to you, and there's like all these different alternate endings. So um either like someone's like breaking into your house, or you like get lost in the woods and you have to like hitchhike back to this creepy motel. So there's like all these different small horror experiences because they're only like an hour to 2 hours each. But I love the way that they look. They're so fun. There's all these different types of like gameplay that you're doing, like looking at security cameras or walking around, or like at one point you have to go grocery shopping. And I think they're so fun. I love these little intro kind of to horror games, but they're really stressful as well. I've streamed a couple of them and I've been like on the edge of my seat, like, oh my God, what do I do next? Like, there's someone breaking into my house. Where do I go? Um, so I highly recommend those. And like I said, I played Fear of the Spotlight. I thought that was really cool. I'm looking forward to seeing what else Blumhouse publishes because that was a really good one. And then another like throwback to the PS1 era, Crow Country.
Oh
I
yeah.
think you would really like that if you haven't played it yet.
Yeah, it's dude totally on my list again. The backlog is so massive, but it's
Hmm.
100%. It's on my wish list. Like I do need to buy it. I think it's even now on like PlayStation Plus or something like that. Isn't that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it also just came to Switch as well. So
Oh
it's
man.
everywhere now.
Yeah, it looks
But that was
so
a really
cool.
cool one.
Yeah.
And you're like in
Nice.
an old abandoned I love like I'm a sucker for like abandoned places you shouldn't be, so like the mall, right, of Dead Rising, or like this is a theme park, so you're like wandering around this abandoned theme park and there's like crazy shit going on there.
Or fucked up Pistol Pete's,
Yeah.
or what is it? The cheese guy. What's the cheese man? The cheese rat. Chuck E.
Cheese
Cheese.
right, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, yes, yes. Oh, what do they call
Freddy
it? I guess it's just called
Fazbear's.
Freddy's. Yeah, Freddy Fazbear's.
Yeah. By the way, did you
Classic.
see oh my god, what is it? Willy's Wonderland? Do you ever see that movie?
I did with Nicolas Cage.
That's the best iteration of that idea,
Did you
honestly.
watch the Five Nights at Freddy's movie as well?
I did, and I watched the other one, like the Banana Splats, which to me was
Oh, I
better.
didn't watch that one.
Oh, dude, if If you thought that the Five Nights at Freddy's movie was a little lackluster, watch the Banana
Mhm.
Splats movie. To me, it's way more horror focused. That one's more like PG-13. Like it's
Yeah.
even closer to PG, man. It's more like for the kids. You know what I mean?
It definitely seemed that way when I watched it. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, "Oh, this is for children." Got it.
For me, for horror games, just wanted to say, Layers of Fear, a lot of fun. That got me. That fucked me up.
A
Also,
good one.
what's the one where you have the video camera and you're walking like through that like the I don't know, it's like a prison or something.
Oh, Outlast.
Outlast. That one's fucked up
Hmm.
because you're just walking around. It's not cool.
Yeah.
It's not cool at
And
all.
that guy's really ugly that's chasing you.
Oh yeah, big time. There's all sorts of gross stuff happening in that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Layers of Fear is like trippy, almost like how Psychonauts 2 is kind of trippy, where like you go through a
Hmm.
door but it's not leading where you think it is, and then you close the door and you open the door and you're like there's a whole other hallway, and it's like what the fuck is happening, dude? And at first I thought, oh, it's it's getting me with the jump scares, but like halfway through that game things start to get bloody and it starts to get really crazy. And I know it's kind of a well, people have heard of Layers of Fear, but if you just somehow have it in your library, like fire that shit up, dude. It's actually pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And Fear 1. Although the controls, you'll have to redo those because this was old school first person shooters before they understood the normal keyboard controls. Might be
How
better on a
people would
controller.
want to. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, just I just love horror stuff, like I will, when it comes to horror games, I'm trying to catch up, but I'm just, I'm so glad that we have horror stuff for people who like it. And if you feel like you're a little too scared, we've told you about all sorts of games you could try, high and low. You can go straight in, straight to hell. You could start by getting just your toes wet. You could play like more
Yeah.
of an emotional story, like Last of Us, or some crazy multiplayer game, like even what is it that Space Marine 2 game, which is pretty horrific at times. Like there's a lot of scary ass space monsters coming at you and they're all blowing up with blood. I'm just saying if you're playing games like that and you're scared of horror games, like you can handle some like horrific shit. You
Definitely.
know,
Yeah.
just don't be too proud to be like, ah.
And when in doubt, play with a friend, you know?
Absolutely. You know,
That always makes it better.
especially with Until Dawn and stuff, because that's a pass
Hmm.
the controller around type of game, right? Yeah, I'm
For
gonna
sure.
see if I get Joy to do that with me.
Yeah.
Hell yeah,
Tell tell her for sure because
I will.
it's super fun to play with a partner, with a spouse, with a boyfriend or girlfriend, or
Hmm.
just friends, with anybody.
There you go. Yeah, Phasmophobia. Don't forget, you should
Yeah,
get
I'm
it,
gonna
and we
play
should
that
play.
soon.
It's gonna fucking scare you. You use like the spirit box, right? You know what a spirit box is in real life?
Hmm.
Okay. And you'll ask questions, and then sometimes like at the back of your headphones it'll respond to you, and it's really fucked up. And like you'll
No, thank you.
walk out of a room and the ghost will just reveal itself and start walking towards you and then disappear. And then fuck that, I'm walking out of the house now. You guys can use your stupid flashlights. I'm out of here. And you could do that because you
Peace
can go to the
out.
there's a truck that you can be the guy in the chair on if you're ever too scared,
Yeah,
which I do all the time. But yeah, so fun.
I love
Horror
that.
games are fun. Thank you so much, Madeline, for being a
Thanks for
part
having me.
of this. This is a great conversation. I really appreciate it. Just want to make sure that people know where to find you. I want you to have your time to tell the people all about everything that you want to tell them. So go right ahead.
Yeah. If you want to keep chatting with me about horror things, which I would love to do, or if you want some more Rex, you can find me on everywhere, pretty much everything as at Mad Exposure. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Blue Sky now, I'm on Instagram, and most importantly, come follow me on Twitch at Mad Exposure. I'll be streaming some spooky games probably for the next couple months because I have quite the spooky game backlog, and it's it's Halloween all the time for me. I love horror, so we'll be playing lots of fun stuff. We were playing Fear the Spotlight last night, and then also a little bit of that Alan Wake 2 DLC because Alan Wake's my number one. Love him so much, and yeah, I'll be playing spooky games all the time. So come check me out on Twitch at Mad Exposure. And of course, make sure you're following Neon Pocket Dimension as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So again, really appreciate you coming on. I have one last question for you, and it's going to be a horror
Yeah.
movie thing. What is your
Okay.
favorite found footage horror movie?
Ooh, that's such a good question. Because I feel like here's the thing. There's two that immediately come to mind. Ooh, there's three. And two are like the classic answers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you've got Blair Witch, you've got Paranormal Activity.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna propose a third option. Grave Encounters.
Yes.
So good.
Yes, that's also my favorite.
So good. Really?
That's also my yep.
Yes.
Fuck yeah, you know what's up. That's the movie that I'm like Joy. You know, Joy has like motion sickness problems, so she's like, I could watch one found footage with you, and I was like, it's gonna have to be this crazy ass movie called Grave Encounters. Definitely watch it. It's incredible.
We need to talk about it more because I don't want to spoil it for anyone. But like the places that movie goes, I could talk about for like years.
It's incredible.
Like, it's so good.
Yeah,
If you
it's
haven't
a lot
seen
of
Grave
fun.
Encounters, watch it.
Yeah.
There's one I haven't watched yet, and I'm curious if you've watched it. I think it's called Gojiram Haunted Asylum.
Okay.
Have you heard of this?
I've heard of it, and I hear it's not as good as Grave Encounters. I still haven't seen it, but it is one of those movies that you should watch if you haven't seen it. You know what I mean? If you like found footage horror.
I was hoping you had watched it, and you were gonna tell me to.
No,
watch
I'm gonna watch. I'll watch
it's on
it.
my list.
I'll watch it. If I can stream it, let me know where the hell I can find it, because I'll watch it like today or tomorrow. Like honestly,
I think it's on Amazon.
Okay, I'll seek it out because that's also on Amazon. Grave Encounters through Freevee. So I think even if you don't have Prime or whatever, you can still watch it for free. Grave Encounters. But I will propose to you Shudder this movie called Noroi the Curse, which is a really awesome like documentary
That's
style
been on
one.
my list. I need to watch that.
It's sick. I just watched it the other day. It was chilling. Very Japanese, obviously, but like super cool. Like, you know, they really did their best to make it feel real. And that's why I like found footage horror. Kind of like video games, right? Because it's kind of like you're participating or it feels real. That's why I like found footage.
I have one more I'm curious if you've seen.
Okay.
And this one's more horror. It's on Shudder as well. It's called Deadstream.
I just watched it and I give it an 8 out of 10. Straight up.
It was surprisingly good.
I was like, this might be cringe, but it was so like funny. It was so like streamer jokey, right? Like he was like, oh, I was just in trouble on YouTube, but I'm back. You know, like this happens to all these influencers, right? So good.
Yeah, if you love internet culture, like if you're a big YouTube or Twitch watcher or just any streamer, like go watch Deadstream. It really gets that character of the like, what's up everybody? Welcome to my stream. Like he nails that character so much, and it
so
goes
good
places.
Yeah. There's a point in this movie where he holds up a shirt that I thought was like a dub over or like a like a caption on the screen, and it was like his merch for his channel, and I was like, oh dude, they're nailing it right now. They're fucking nailing it. Yeah, it's so good. It's also funny, so like, definitely a good time.
It's more comedic. Agreed. It's definitely one for like an entry. It's a good entry level one for sure as well.
Oh yeah, just very shaky, so just keep that in mind if you can't handle the shake. But hey, again, been a pleasure. It's a great time. I'm gonna get you out of here. I know it's getting late, but had a great chat with you. You're always welcome back to Neon Gaming Dimension to talk about whatever. Neon Pocket Dimension to nerd about other stuff than video games. Could be anything. Just let us know. But twitch.tv/Mad Exposure. You better follow her immediately, or at Mad Exposure on everything. You know what I mean? That the unique tag. You know it's her. Follow her. We'll see you. Say goodnight.
Good night, everybody. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. Bye.